Well, we're going to compare two really powerful cameras, but they're not the latest and greatest, so don't get too excited. But what I do have here is a C70, and this is about a 5-year-old camera. And we have an R3, which is still current. They're both still current, but the R3 I think is probably about 3 years old, 2 or 3 years old. And I use them mostly for video. So what I'm going to be talking about is the video components, because obviously the C70 would lose hands down. So we're going to keep it video orientated. Now, both of these cameras are extremely capable for video, and this one here has some advantages and this one here has some advantages, and we're going to talk about what they are. Now, I've got 3 of these R3s, so 3 threes, right? And the reason why I have them, because for my application specifically, which is filming weddings, these things are just hands down the best wedding camera, I think, on the market, because you can do photos and video. The hybrid function of them is excellent, and the low light performance of this camera it's as good as anything. It's insane. 12,800, image is fantastic, 120 frames per second, 1080p, high shooting, and the image is absolutely amazing. Now I'm shooting, sorry, I hate the microphone, guys. So if we're just talking about what I'm shooting in now, I don't normally shoot in it, but I'm in 4K, the fine mode, which is the all eye. So it's oversampled from 6K. So the file's going to be absolutely massive. And that's actually one of the big disadvantages with this camera, the R3. If you want to shoot in all eye, the files are pretty huge. They're insane big, right? And that's where the C70 is the much better camera, because this has a much smaller sensor. It has an 8.83 megapixels compared to 24 megapixels. The image out of this, for the size, it's a much more run and gun usable camera, because the file sizes are a lot more manageable. And also what I like about this camera is the actual screen, and I'm talking about the screen image quality, not the hinge, right, which is an issue, I think is actually a bit better. It's more detailed, more finer, whilst the R3 is a little bit brighter. So what you win here is some brightness. What you win here is the image quality is better. So that's one of the two advantages. And the other thing about this camera, which is really good, like I'm shooting on an anamorphic lens now. Now, if I had this camera on the stand there with the anamorphic on, I could actually have it in magnification whilst I'm recording, and I can move my head and keep my head in focus. But with the R3, as soon as you start the recording, it falls out of the magnification mode. So I can't really tell just by looking at the little screen if I'm perfectly in focus or not. So that's a disadvantage for the R3 and an advantage for the C70. And the other advantage is this one's better for file sizes than the R3. The file sizes are much smaller. Now, the other advantage with the R3 is the low light performance is insane, whilst with the C70, you're kind of tapping out a little bit at 6,400. It's usable, but it's you're starting to struggle at that amount, whilst the R3, I'm actually shooting this on 3200, so it works really good on that at 800 ISO and 12,800 ISO. The R3, much better light performance. So that's really the main things that I've seen are different. Apart from that, they're both exceptionally good images, exceptionally good cameras. Oh, and one thing else I forgot to mention is this one has C-Log 2, so you get a much more flatter image. And I actually prefer the look of the image out of the C70. I think it has a more organic feel to it, if that kind of makes any sense. Whilst the R3 has a more digital feel, but still an excellent image, and it's only got C-Log 3. I don't really think that that's a massive issue. I'm used to grading the C-Log 3, so I don't have any problems with it. But the C2, I think it does give you a little bit more recovery. it's a hard thing really to say, and I've seen tests and they do these like, 2, 3, 4 stops under, but I'm having my doubts about the way they test it, because you don't actually use a camera in that situation. What you do is you have like low light, and then you crank the ISO to get it exposed right, which is not what they're doing. They actually underexpose the camera by changing the settings on the camera, not by changing the light really dark. So I know that that's a standard test they do, but I have my reservations about it because it's not real world representative. But what I can tell you is the R3 is insane. And the other thing the R3 does, which I actually use, is it goes up to 240 frames per second in 1080p. And the 1080p is oversampled in the R3, and there's just really no point shooting in 4K on it. Even I'm shooting 4K now just to try it. The image is just, it's insane. You can't tell the difference. And it's like a heap smaller. It's about half the size. And the file sizes on the R3 are just massive. So that's a big disadvantage. But in 1080p, you can go to 240 FPS. And I use that in my weddings. I actually drop the perfume bottle on it just like as if it floats down onto the bed. And it looks amazing. And the quality of the image, even though it's not oversampled, it's really, really beautiful image. So it is a real workhorse, the R3. Doesn't overheat, just like the C70. All those other things are pretty equal. Apart from those points that I've raised, they're both pretty good cameras. The menus are obviously a little bit different. And also the R3 obviously does photo as well, very, very efficiently. So if you need something that does photo, obviously that's an advantage, but I'm just talking about video here. So that's it, guys. If you've got any comments about these two cameras, leave them down below. Here they are right here, C70 and the R3. And I would recommend anyone to buy one of these cameras because they are professional cameras. They don't overheat. They don't give you any problems. They've got very long battery life. They're a true workhorse, both of these cameras, and I'm very, very happy. I've had some of these smaller bodied cameras, and they're just a pain in the neck, right? They get the job done, but you have to worry about battery management. You have to worry about overheating. You have to worry about all this other crap that kind of gives you a bit of anxiety on the job. Whilst with these cameras, you get no anxiety. They're just great. Okay, guys, I'll see you next vid.